Today, we're going to be talking about something super exciting. Well, at least it's exciting for me. We're going to be talking about OneSignal push notifications in your React app. I think push notifications are amazing because they can help you increase your user experience and engage with your customers. So before we begin, I'm going to introduce myself and I'm going to present the agenda. I'm Pato Vargas. I'm the Senior Developer Advocate for OneSignal. And today we're going to have an overview of what push notifications are and how they work. We're going to be talking about the implementation. I have a small demo for you. And we're going to have a section for Q&As. So feel free to be asking your questions throughout the talk, but I'm going to answer them at the end. So now let's talk about the overview. So before we begin, we need to explain what OneSignal is. OneSignal is a market leader in customer engagement, powering mobile, web push, email, CMS, and in-app messages. Those are all the tools that can help you engage with your users of the application. But today we're only going to be focusing on push notifications. The push notifications are one of the tools that OneSignal provides. But what is a push notification? Well, web push notifications are clickable pop-up messages that appear on your users' browsers, right? Subscribers can be anywhere on the browser and still receive the messages. Even if they're not visiting your site, maybe they haven't used it in a few days and they still gonna be able to receive the push notification. So that's the value of this, right? But how is this possible? Well, that is possible thanks to the JavaScript service workers. So the JavaScript service workers is a thread job that lives in the background, right, and separately from your website. And thanks to that, you're going to be able to receive the push notifications even if your website or the website that your customers are visiting is not open. So essentially, what it does, the service worker is asleep, right? And when it receives the signal from the server, it's going to wake up and it's going to trigger the push notification into your site. Service workers have multiple functionalities. They can help with caching and like assets and network requests. But for the purpose of this webinar, the service workers are only being used for triggering the push notifications into your site. So now let's talk about the implementation. So I'm going to show hands-on how to integrate push notifications into your React application using OneSignal. The first thing that we have to do is navigate to onesignal.com. We are going to create an application inside of the OneSignal dashboard. We're going to create the React app, which in this case I already have it, but it's just a regular React app. And I'm going to show you how to integrate OneSignal using an NPM package that we have. And I'm going to demonstrate the usage of tags to segment users. So like I said, the first thing that we have to do is go to onesignal.com, right? And you're going to create a free account. So I'm going to go over here and type OneSignal. And if you don't have an account, you're going to have to sign up. If you do have an account, just log in. And then you're going to click on New App Website. And right here, you can type test React OneSignal app. And you're going to click on Web. Once you click on Web, you're going to click Next, configure your platform. Now you're going to see this setup right here that is going to allow you to configure your push notification setup. I'm going to go over here just because I already have this application built. React, let's find it. React NPM test. This is the one that I'm going to be working on today. And I'm going to go to settings. And the cool thing about this is that you don't have to set up everything at the beginning. If for whatever reason you decide to modify your settings, for your push notifications, you can always go back and modify them. For example, that's exactly what I did today. I went to settings, click on platforms. You're gonna click on all browsers, right? And in this case, I'm gonna click on typical setup. Typical setup means that they are gonna show a prompt in your website, right? So when I say they, I mean the person who is enabled push notifications on their website. But you can also have a custom one. You can set up the way the notification looks, but with code. For this case, I'm only gonna do the typical setup. And as you can see, I'm only entering the site name, which is OneSignal React NPM. For testing purposes and implementation purposes, I'm entering the localhost URL. You need to make sure that you enable this part right here, local testing. If you don't do this, this is not gonna work. Your push notifications are not gonna work locally. Once you have published your website, right, and you already have a domain and all that, and you already have deployed your React application, what you're going to do is you're gonna enter your domain over here. And that's it, that's all you have to do. Then I'm gonna scroll down, and usually this prompt, right, it takes 10 seconds to load after the user has gotten into your website. So I'm gonna be entering any website, and then after 10 seconds, I'm gonna see a prompt asking me to subscribe. That's the default value, 10 seconds, but I'm gonna change it to 3 just because I don't want to be waiting that long. And the cool thing about the dashboard from OneSignal is that it allows you to see how the prompt is gonna look like. In this case, this is exactly how it's gonna look like on my browser. So it's gonna say later, it's gonna say subscribe. If you want the user to subscribe, then they're gonna have to be clicking on this prompt. I'm gonna click on done. And everything else, I'm not gonna change it. I mean, you can tweak the welcome message. For example, after the user has subscribed, they're just gonna receive a notification. This is not a push notification. We have to be careful with this. A push notification comes from the server itself, right? And a notification or a web notification comes from the app itself, meaning you don't need to trigger this push notification coming from the server. So essentially, what the NPM package is doing is saying, hey, this user has subscribed. Let's just show this welcome message using a regular notification, not a push notification. A push notification is a server that needs to send the signal to the service worker, and the service worker is going to trigger the notification on your device. So keep that in mind. Now you're going to click on save. And we're just going to wait a few seconds for this to finish. Now, awesome. Now what we're going to do is after clicking save, it's going to ask you to download these SDK files. These SDK files are actually the service workers. Service workers are needed for push notifications. If you do not have a service worker, your push notifications are not going to work. You're just not going to see them triggered. For our case scenario, since we're going to be using the NPM package, we don't need to do anything else. So I'm just going to click on finish. You don't have to worry about step number 7. So I'm just going to click finish. Awesome. So now I'm going to navigate to my awesome React application, right? And I want to show you how it looks like. So let's go over here. And this is my super complex OneSignal React application. As you can see, it only has a logo, right? And it has 3 buttons. One, it says ReactJS, Angular, Vue, and I'm going to show you how we're going to be using those buttons. And I'm going to show you how to integrate OneSignal to have push notifications into your React app. So the first thing that we have to do, so I'm going to clear my console. I'm going to have to run the NPM package. So I'm going to run this one right here. NPM install React OneSignal. It's a version 2. It's a beta. It's going to be fully released next week. I just want to show you how to do the implementation of this one, because from now on, this is the way you're going to be doing things with our NPM package. So if you have feedback on this beta version, please let us know. We love feedback. We want to make the developer experience better for you. So I'm going to run this command. Awesome. So my NPM package has been installed. So now remember that we downloaded the service workers from the dashboard, right? What I was telling you, you are going to inject them in your ReactJS application. You're going to have to put them in the public folder. As you could see, I have them here. So I downloaded those files and add them here to my public folder. That's all I did. So now let's clear the console. Now let's actually start with the implementation of integrating OneSignal into our app, right? I already got the NPM package. I'm good to go on that aspect. Now, the first thing that I have to do, if I want to use OneSignal, I need to import it, right? So this is what I'm gonna do. I copy an empty line, so that's awesome. So let me copy this line again. There you go. So now you're telling your application, hey, start using OneSignal from the NPM package that I just installed. So the next thing is to register your application, letting OneSignal to be aware that this React application is using OneSignal. So if you're familiar with React, I'm going to be using a use effect, right? And this use effect is going to help me with side effects. In this case, the side effect will be me making a call to the OneSignal API, letting them know that my React application now has OneSignal. So that's awesome. I'm gonna do that, and then copy this line over here. Cool. And I need to import use effect from React. Here it is. And as you can see, it's asking me for my app ID, right? And you might be wondering, well, Pato, how do I get it? I'm going to show you two ways of getting your app ID: the easy way and the more complicated way. That's how I like to call it. So the first thing that you have to do is go to your dashboard from OneSignal, and if you click on settings, you're going to see this tab right here that says keys and IDs. So if you click on it, you can get it from here, as you can see, right? But I'm not really gonna get it from here. Why? Because I mean, you can get it if you want, but the way I like to do it usually, because I'm most of the times in a different screen. For example, I could be here in audience, and all you have to do is just copy this string right here. So you don't really have the need to go into settings. So I'm just gonna use this one right here, right? So I just want to make sure that I'm going to the correct app. Okay, yes, perfect, awesome. So I'm gonna go back to my page where I was. Okay, I was here. So now let's go back to our application. We're gonna enter the ID, right? That's all I have to do. Now I save. So now I have OneSignal essentially already ready to be triggered and ready to be letting our servers know from OneSignal that, hey, this React application is going to be using OneSignal. Now, another thing that I want to do is, as you could see, I have this onHandle tag function. And this function, essentially what it does is when I click in one of the buttons that I showed you on the website, they're going to be passing this value, one of these values, to the function. And I'm going to be using a method from the OneSignal NPM package called sendTag. The sendTag allows me to segment my users, and you can be super creative with them. You can segment your users by, for example, if you have a social media platform, right? And you ask your users for their gender, you can send maybe push notifications to men or women. You can also segment your users maybe by location, or in this case, I'm gonna segment my users based on their technology that they like to use. So I'm gonna do OneSignal.send tag, right? And you are gonna have to enter a key value pair, right? In this case, I'm gonna be doing tag, and then I'm gonna pass the value, which in this case could be React, Angular, or Vue. And so this is a promise. So essentially what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna do then you don't have to do this, but I'm just gonna do it just to demonstrate that that you can do other things, right? So console log tag, okay, that's perfect. Awesome. So let's review the code. So I have the use effect, right? As soon as my component is loading and all that, I'm gonna be triggering the initialization of my React application with OneSignal, letting them know, hey, I'm using OneSignal, that's awesome. And then whenever I want to only get notifications based on React or Angular or Vue, I'm gonna be clicking on one of those buttons, which is gonna trigger the OneSignal send tag method. So now let's save this, and we're gonna go back to the actual application. So I'm gonna reload the page, and we're gonna wait 3 seconds. And after 3 seconds, we get the prompt that I was telling you about. Now, I think this website is awesome. I want to subscribe. I want to be getting notifications from the owner of the website. So I'm gonna click subscribe. Then I'm gonna click allow to all the push notifications. And awesome. You see, thanks for subscribing. This is not a push notification. This is just a notification coming from the app itself. Very cool. So now if I go back to my app, right? I'm actually in a different app. Second. Okay, so 117. Yeah, this is the this is me, right? This is when I subscribe. 117. As you can see, since I subscribe, I belong to a segment called subscribe users. These two segments right here are by default, right? You don't get to choose when a user has clicked subscribe if they happen or not. By default, they're gonna be always belonging to active users and subscribed users. And we're gonna have this other one right here called tags, right? And as you can see, it's empty. I don't have anything. So what happens if I go over here and click on React? So it's tagging, it has been tagged. So if I go to my OneSignal dashboard, I'm just gonna refresh the page. And voila. Now this user, which in this case, it's me, right? It says tag and React. Now, so now I belong to this segment. Very interesting. So now the other thing that I need to do is actually send a push notification. So I'm gonna go to messages, right? I'm gonna click on new push. And I'm just gonna say, let's say, React is awesome. The message, I don't know, programmers are so cool. Then you can configure your push notifications. You can add, for example, an image, launch URL, and so on. I'm not really gonna touch that right now. And then I'm gonna click on immediately, right? And send to everyone at the same time. So let's see what happens. When I click on that, I can see how many people are gonna be receiving this push notification. So send message, and boom, here's my push notification coming from the server being triggered by the service worker. But what about if I only want to send a push notification to the React users? You can do that as well, right? So you're gonna go to messages, and let's say new push, And an audience, right? As you could see, by default, subscribed users is the one selected. Every time a person goes into your website and selects to be subscribing to the app, right, or the website, they belong to this audience, subscribed users. But now in this scenario, I want to segment them. So add a segment. Let's see, search by name. It doesn't exist right here, so I need to create one. Technology, create segment, right? And then I want to, for example, as you can see, you can segment users by different types, right? For example, their version, their device type, if they have an Android, if they have an iPhone. In this case, it's going to be a tag because that's what I use to segment them. The key is going to be tag, and the value is going to be what? React. And as soon as you look at this is the cool thing about OneSignal. As soon as I type React, I saw that I have one user that belongs to that segment, right? If I type, let's say, Vue, I got 0. If I type Angular, I got 0. Why? Because I haven't clicked on any in any of those buttons that tells OneSignal, hey, this user wants to be part of the React, Angular, or Vue segment. But in this case, I have done React, so that's why it appears 1. Then I'm gonna click on update segment. Awesome. So now I'm gonna scroll down, and this is only for React users. This is the Cool Kids Club. Let's see. And then I scroll down, and once again, this is gonna remain the same because I want to send the notification right away. So that's now. Review and send. And you can see how many people have been subscribed and how many people are going to get this notification because they belong to this specific segment, which is a React segment, right? Now I'm going to click on send message. And there you go. This is only for React users. So if you click Angular or if they click Vue, they're not going to get it. So that's like super cool. Well, I think, right? So that's all you have to do with the integration of OneSignal into your React app. It's super simple. There's multiple things that you can do with the OneSignal NPM package. You can take this to the next level. You can create more complex scenarios and workflow to gather users' information and send the push notifications depending on like the location, like I was saying, or other scenarios that you want. For example, I can give you another example. Let's pretend that you are creating a YouTube replica, right? Or essentially YouTube. And every time that someone clicks on subscribe on the bell, right, on the little icon to subscribe to his channel, then that means that that person is going to be receiving push notifications from that specific channel when a new video launches. Right? You can use push notifications in your WordPress site, right? You can use push notifications on your regular website without using React. And the cool thing about this is that you can be really creative, right? For example, let's pretend that you created a blog with, I don't know, Next.js and Contentful, right? You can trigger a push notification every time that a new blog has been published inside of your Next.js application. So I think that's super useful. So like I said, you can be very creative with that. So now, if we go over here, I'm sorry, to this part. So this is a small demo that I have for you. So this is the same application that you just saw on my demo. This is exactly what you're gonna see. So what I want you to do is visit that site in a few seconds. So I'm sorry, I need to go back. Like I clicked on the wrong one. I'm sorry. There you go. So in a few seconds, I want you to go to that specific website when I tell you when. So something that we have to do is, now that my website has been published, because I already published it before the talk, is to actually let OneSignal know that I have changed domains, that I'm not going to be using local test anymore. So I'm going to go to Firebase, deploy. I'm going to deploy it again. I'm not telling you to use Firebase. You can use whatever you want. In this case, I'm using Firebase just because it's very simple for me and I already have it set up. And as you can see, this is my hosting URL that I have copied, right? So now that I have copied that, now I need to let OneSignal know to be aware of the change, right? That I'm not gonna be using my local testing anymore. I'm ready to let my users worldwide or wherever to start using my application. So like I was telling you, remember that I told you to change this to your domain name. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna change it. And then all you have to do is just literally click save. That's all. That's simple. Continue with this URL. Awesome. So now everything looks good. The changes have been made. Now I'm going to go back to that application. So this is application now living live. I'm going to click subscribe, right? Now I'm going to be actually receiving push notifications from my deploy website. And then I'm going to click on view just because I'm just going to change it. So now what I want you to do is go back on your phone or in your computer and try to subscribe to the push notifications. You can use the QR code to scan it, or you can use this URL. Keep in mind that I haven't enabled push notifications on Apple devices. That's another step that you have to do inside of the OneSignal dashboard. Just for timing, I didn't do it. And keep in mind that push notifications do not work on Apple devices that have Safari, right? And this is something really important that I have to mention because that's not related with OneSignal, that's not related with Firebase, that's not related with Twilio or any push notification provider. This is a problem with Apple devices. And you might be wondering, well, Pato, what happens if I have Google Chrome installed on my Apple device? Well, it's not going to work either. And the reason is because Google Chrome, Firefox, or other browsers that exist in your Apple device, they are actually a theme or a skin on top of Safari. Safari is still living in the background, even though that you think you're using Google Chrome. So now, hopefully you had time to go to my website and subscribe. So now I'm going to go back to the OneSignal dashboard. I'm going to click on audience. And there you go. Nobody really has subscribed, and that's 100% fine, right? But the cool thing about this is that you can now know with the OneSignal dashboard, your audience, how many people have subscribed. You can go to segments, and you can see, for example, how many people subscribe to the segment technology, which in this case, you can see the value, which is React. If they have Vue, that happens, no problem. So with that being said, right, I'm going to go back to the presentation. And here are the links to the resources. This is the link to the NPM package. So I'm just going to copy the link and let's go over here. And this is going to take you to the NPM package from OneSignal, right? But if you want to learn more about the beta version, you're going to go to issues. Then you're going to click on the first one, React OneSignal 2.0 now in beta. So you can see about the information, the key changes. Honestly, this has been a major improvement in our NPM package. This NPM package actually didn't belong to us. It belonged to someone from the community that decided to build this NPM package. And since we love helping people in the community and developers, we were like, hey, we're going to help you out to make it better. And we're going to get hands-on on your NPM package. So that's what we did. So you can see the interface is using TypeScript now, which is amazing as well. So if you have any comments on the NPM package, scroll down and on this issue and type any concerns that you may have. Now, with that being said, right, so something else that I want to show you is this how-to guide. So maybe I took a lot of, I mentioned several steps during my talk, but I have a how-to guide that shows you how to integrate push notifications into your ReactJS app, right? I explained push notifications, how to integrate them, the setup and all that. So every single step that I performed today here is on this website. So if you're curious about the actual code, right, of this demo that I created today, I have a GitHub project. So I'm gonna go over here. And I haven't done the README because I did this demo last night. I'm gonna implement the README, so just be patient on that. But other than that, you can see the same implementation that I accomplished today. You see, it's exactly the same, like no problem. Now, what I want you to see is the following. So I'm going to click on Advanced Setup. And I'm going to compare this with my actual implementation. And I'm going to show you why it's better to use the NPM package instead of doing it the JavaScript way, if that makes sense. So, okay, I think I can do this. There you go. Awesome. So I'm inside of my app.js app, right? Then I'm gonna, this is a different implementation. As you can see, I'm using useEffect as well. And right here, I'm using useEffect. This branch right here that says Advanced Setup, this is the old way of doing the implementation of OneSignal in your React app. So if you already have that implementation, it's really easy to migrate from the old one to the new one. As you can see, I have OneSignal.push. I am essentially letting the window object be aware of OneSignal, right? And then the rest, this part right here is essentially the same, right? Defining the app ID. And right here, the tagging is exactly the same. That doesn't change. So if you're migrating from trying to use the old way of doing push notifications in OneSignal into the NPM package, you don't really have to change much, right? As you can see right here, I'm using push, and right here I'm not using push at all. I'm just literally calling the init method. So you might be wondering, well, Pato, why should I use the NPM package over the CDN? Right, so this right here that you're seeing right here, this implementation is using the CDN. So if I go to source on the old way, and then I click on public, right, you can see that I have my service workers as well. That doesn't change. Why? Because service workers are needed to trigger push notifications. But if I go to index, you can see that I have this CDN right here, right? I don't need that with the NPM package anymore, right? And the cool thing about not having to use a CDN is that CDN takes time to load, right? Because it comes from a server, gets injected into your app, then you're gonna be able to use OneSignal. With the NPM package, you don't have to wait for OneSignal to be loaded. OneSignal is ready to go in your app because it's integrated via the NPM package. So now, if I go to my app again, right, and click on source, and then app.js. Do you see this part right here? This is essentially telling OneSignal, hey, whenever you're finished loading, integrate the OneSignal object into this OneSignal property of my window object, right? I don't need to do that anymore. I don't need to use the push. So that is amazing. There's other methods inside of the OneSignal SDK that you have to use the push, for example, when sending a tag, right? In some scenarios, you have to use the push if you're using the CDN, but thanks to the NPM package, you don't have to do that anymore. So cool. Hopefully you learned something today. And as you can see, the setup was like a 3-minute setup. Honestly, it didn't take long. So now, lastly, I want to invite everyone in the community to join our community on Discord, right? We support Android, Apple, Ionic, Angular, React, Flutter, Vue.js, you name it. We probably support. We have SDKs for different technologies. Currently, we have a little bit over 1 million developers using OneSignal. So OneSignal is not new, it's actually very stable. Like I said, OneSignal is the #1 engagement tool for your customers using push notifications, SMS, in-app messages, emails. And don't remember, OneSignal is actually open source. So if you want to contribute to a project, feel free to do it. You can do it. You can find the information in this website, onesignal.com/OneSignal developers. And we have a Discord server. Feel free to join us. In the Discord server, you're going to find help. You're going to find other developers from OneSignal, and you're going to find what other people are building using push notifications, in-app messages, and more. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter. We have a Twitter account, and I'm going to click on that one. And as you can see, I mean, it's very new. We joined in May, right? But we share a lot of tips. We also host Twitter spaces, right? For example, this is one of the tips that I actually created for a Twitter profile. So if you want to learn more about tech in general, feel free to join our community. You're going to learn about JavaScript. You're going to learn about React, Vue, Flutter, and more technologies. With that being said, right? Feel free to follow me as well. This is my username. And this is the OneSignal developers Twitter account. This is the website where you can find more information about our community. And lastly, I'm going to open the space for questions. So if you have a question, bring it up. So there's a question right here. It says, hello, I speak Spanish. My English is poor, but I will try to use OneSignal with websites and PWAs apps. And it doesn't say the user tag with PWA access. If it works for me when the user enters the website from a browser, but do not have PWA, it is possible to fix now. And how? Let me make sure that I'm understanding your question, Dario. Okay, so my question would be, are you using the old way of doing the implementation? One of the problems that I think that you have is whenever you have a PWA, it requires a service worker. A PWA requires a service worker by default, right? In this case, you need to have 2 service workers, actually 3. The one for your PWA to power your PWA, and you need to have the 2 service workers from OneSignal, right? So you need to make sure that you have those 3 and you're changing the paths of either your regular service worker or the path of your OneSignal service workers. Why? Because they cannot be in the same root, because they can only be one service worker in the root of your project. In OneSignal, we actually show you how to accomplish that problem, right? So I'm gonna go to settings, and then I'm gonna click on all browsers. And as you can see, it says service worker, customize service worker path, and file names. So if you wanna change the name of your service worker and you wanna have it in a different path that is not your root folder, you can do that, and that potentially will help you solve your problem. If you keep having this problem, reach out to me. We have a few solutions for you inside of our documentation. So feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, and I'll be more than happy to help you out. So hopefully I answered your question. So with that being said, if there are no more questions, I'm gonna let you guys go. So I'm just gonna give you 10 more seconds to submit your questions. If not, hopefully it was very clear how to integrate push notifications into your React application. Don't forget, we support different technologies. We have a blog showing you how to integrate push notifications into your Next.js app, and as well for Angular. So feel free to check them out. Thank you so much for joining today. Ciao, ciao.